Alright, so hear me out. Dwarf Thopter Faeries. You in? I'm in. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we are going to be playing with Brian W's Dwarf Thopter Faeries decklist, and there's a lot going on here. We probably need to start with the dwarf portion of this, which is Magda, Brazen Outlaw. The important part here is that whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. And you can sacrifice 5 treasure tokens to search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. We are going to be playing this alongside a large number of changelings, okay? Including lands like Mana Vault, which are also changelings. So, our goal here, and we've gone a little deep for this, so forgive me. Our goal here is to have Magda, 5 treasures, and an untapped Universal Automaton. The important part here is that it's an artifact creature, okay? So what's going to happen is you're going to sacrifice the 5 treasures to get a Clock of Omens. You're going to tap Clock of Omens and your Universal Automaton to untap Universal Automaton, which in process gives you a treasure token. This process gives you infinite treasure tokens, which allows you to get infinite Magda searches. With infinite Magda searches, you are going to get a Scourge of Valkas, which whenever it or another dragon ETBs, you deal X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control. You're going to tutor up the Scourge, and then you're just going to tutor up other dragons, since changelings count as everything, and get a kill on the spot. That is the game plan that this deck is trying to execute. And since these changelings count as creatures of any type, they are also fairies, which means we can use Spellstrutter Sprite as a way to protect our creatures and our other permanents. Another cute interaction here is that this is Dwarf Thopter Faeries, so all of these changelings are also Thopters. Meaning, we can just play a 1-mana 1/1, and with Retrofitter Foundry, turn it into a 4/4 instantly. So, this is the game plan. I am a little skeptical about some of the things in this deck list, but I've been assured ahead of time via an email that the mana base is fine and it can mostly cast its spells. I am really concerned about this. Just kind of pulling this aside here, there aren't that many actual factual mana producing lands in this deck list that can truly produce mana of any color. A lot of these are bounded by the fact that they can only be used to cast creature. So I think cards like Swords to Plowshares and some of the things in the sideboard here, like Flusterstorm, are basically going to be uncastable. But I've been told that the utility these colorless lands provide is worth the blow to the mana base. I don't know. I don't know if I believe it. I also am really unsure about this sideboard. I get that the donor is going for covering different angles by playing a split like this, but I kind of feel like one of these is probably best for one reason or another. I also don't know that you can afford to play cards that you are going to have to cast via actual factual mana. I guess this one doesn't really count. This is some cute tech. This is absolutely the definition of cute. So whenever a dragon you control attacks, remember your changelings are dragons, creatures defending players control get -1/-1 until end of turn, meaning you have a way to kind of sweep the board. I'm going to play these games in the tournament practice room because I just have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to want to adjust this deck list as we go through. The other thing that I'm thinking about ahead of time is, do I want to just cut one random card, like a Masked Vandal, from this deck list in order to just, play a, air quotes, real win condition that is not just, Scourge of Valkas or Clock of Omens, so that, in the times where I don't have everything set up to fully combo off, that I can just go and just get something like a God Pharaoh statue that is just going to objectively be good. So these are the things that I'm thinking about going into the league. I have played a deck similar to this before. We were a little heavier on the white, and we were playing the double strike Changeling creature, which has been cut from this deck. So we'll kind of see how we feel about that. Let's jump directly into the games, and please consider throwing me a like before this video begins. Likes and comments are the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, there's nothing really broken going on with this hand, but I have the potential to have early, like, creature into Magda or, like, double Wasteland. It looks a lot less good in the face of Prismatic Ending. I think I'm going to play Wasteland into Universal Automaton here. I don't really want my Retrofitter Foundry to eat a Prismatic Ending. Also, did I say Prismatic Ending when I first saw Prismatic Vista? Because that was obviously not what I meant. Alright, are we playing against a blue control deck here? Is sure seeming like it. Ooh. Am I ready for that? I'm potentially ready for that. But I think I'm going to do this instead. Attempt to play this Magda. It was good enough for a Force of Will pitching Narset. So I'll just tap in for 1 here. I am going to take so much damage from my lands over the course of this game. Like, luckily my opponent probably won't pressure my life total too much, but there's going to be real costs here. Yeah, Teferi, just bounce this idiot. Yep. That's fine. Spellstar Sprite is, like, very bad in the face of Teferi. I think this is going to be play Saga, wasteland my opponent in all likelihood. Let's start here, though. And then play this, which will allow me to create a 4/4. And then junk this land. So, oh, another land that I can wasteland. Alright. That's fine. And my opponent will minus Narset. I will probably kill Narset rather than kill Teferi. It's weird, though, because I have this Sprite in hand, specifically. Sacrifice a Thopter. Make a 4/4. Alright. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to wasteland this Volcanic Island or just, like, take my Urza Saga value. I kind of want to just take my Urza Saga value. Let's take my Urza Saga value. I don't know. Alright. Goodbye Teferi. It's gone. I'm just going to take my Urza Saga value, and I will leave up Sprite for if something particularly scary gets played. Also, I shouldn't have played Wasteland. I should have played Secluded Courtyard so that I could make a token this turn and then Wasteland this. No, you don't get to do that. Yeah, I'm going to say no to that. Opponent over there is probably like, what on earth is happening? Ooh, counterspell? Dress down. Well, the good news is that I dealt with a dress down, and it did not eat 2 Urza Saga tokens. That's the good news. Bad news is this is not a Thopter. It is a Fairy Wizard. Alright. So I get to kill Narset, crack my opponent for 4, make another Urza Saga token. But again, I wish I had not played Wasteland last turn. Absolutely an error on my end. Goodbye, dress down. Magda. Alright. Make my creature. Do some searching. I'll get a new Retrofitter Foundry. Card is obnoxious. Pick Dwarf with this. I'll just play out an Ether Vial for the sake of doing it. Go to combat. Poke Narset. Punch you. Alright, this is working. This is working. I like how this is going. Alright, there's another Plains. I have 9 power showing, plus a Retrofitter Foundry to grind, and the ability to kind of chip away at that Volcanic Island as well. Alright. Chase is a thing that exists. By Construct, which shrinks this by 1. Ooh. Alright. That's not bad. Pick up Vial, another Retrofitter Foundry. Cool, cool. Still think I fuck up that land given the opportunity to. Play new land drop. Play new Retrofitter Foundry. Oak Jace for 1. And then, for the low cost of 2 life, I can go and create a Thopter. Every Changeling I draw at this point, by the way, is pretty strong. Oh, I think opponent just kind of whiffed on removal and was just fine with throwing in the towel there, knowing that multiple Retrofitter Foundries would be tough to beat. Okay. I have a sideboard. Pithing Needle. Sounds great. I like that for shutting off Planeswalkers. Don't really need Masked Vandal. Don't really need Vampire's Vengeance. Yeah, it seems like I have basically nothing for control here. That's probably a problem that needs to be addressed in case I need to become more threat dense. Alright, I'm gonna write myself a note of that. Alright, sideboard versus control. Needs some work. Couple of big dumb haymakers sound good here. I don't think I want a Flusterstorm. I'm just gonna keep 1 random Swords to Plowshares. Turn 1, Mutavault Foundry. Turn 2, Uncounterable Magda. I have the Scourge in hand, which is super awkward. I like the manlands. I don't like that I have no creature to sacrifice to this and no initial Dwarf or Changeling. And I hate that this is in hand. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one. I like this better. I'll keep this pitching 1 Ether Vial. And we'll see if my opponent starts on a Ponder like I expect them to. Sure. I will have a relatively difficult land drop decision on turn 1 regarding like what I name with Cavern of Souls. Or if I play Cavern. Oh god. I think with 2 sprites I go Cavern on Wizard or Faerie. Let's put this on Dwarf. And slam an Ether Vial. Ether Vial probably eats a Prismatic Ending a good portion of the time here. Ooh, no, it doesn't. Alright, Vial, let's see you do your thing. Pithing Needle. Not a card I'm hoping to draw. Alright, let's go Cavern on Wizard. I feel like my opponent is less likely to remember that Spellstutter Sprite is a wizard than they are that it is a fairy. Okay. Opponent kept a 1 or 2 land hand, whiffed with Ponder, shuffled with Ponder, and then conceded. Okay, I mean, this is what happens when you play in the tournament practice room sometimes. Let's pair again. Alright, weird opening hand here. I'm on the draw. I have a Once Upon a Time to find a creature. I have 2 Aether Vials. I have a castable Swords to Plowshares. I feel like 5 air quotes mana sources is probably too many. I'm on the draw though. Maybe I can keep this. Maybe I can keep this. I'm not happy with it, but I would like very readily keep this on 6. Infect. Okay, I have Swords to Plowshares to answer that creature. I haven't played against Infect in a hot minute though. Can't get dazed. I am absolutely starting with Once Upon a Time. We're going to look for a changeling of some kind. Moth Dust Changeling is totally respectable here, I think. I will be grabbing that. And then I just have to play City of Brass into Swords to Plowshares this. I can be Force of Negation by doing this on my turn, but I think that's better than opening up 2 Vines on my opponent's turn. Alright, Force, pitching Ponder. I can legit play blockers next turn, but my opponent leading on Pendelhaven makes that super awkward. So we'll see where this goes. I could absolutely die this turn. Like Invigorate Berserk is a hell of a drug. Alright, there is just a Noble Hierarch. Into Scale Up. I'll take 7 Infect damage this turn. Oh, fuck. I'll take 10 this turn. Yeah. Opponent used every bit of the Buffalo and absolutely killed me. Legit. Alright, try again. So, as far as removal goes, there's very little here, right? I can play Pithing Needle or an Inkmoth Nexus. I can play Vampire's Vengeance, which is very slow. There's a 2 mana removal spell that's going to be hard to cast. I guess I take it. I guess I play Plague Engineer. I'm not super happy with my options here. As far as boarding things out, I probably don't need to protect my stuff. The Unsettled Mariner. I can probably board Mirror Entity out. Masked Vandal, often Ether Vial can technically kill an Inkmoth Nexus. But that's a heck of a hoop to try to jump through. I think I'll junk that. Retrofitter Foundry creating a whole bunch of blockers repeatedly is cool, but I can still lose. From here, I'm less sure about what the worst cards are. Once Upon a Time is probably expendable. I really don't want to draw that anywhere except the opening hand. I would like to play first. I guess I keep this because I don't really have removal that I can mulligan towards. Ooh. Big old Thunderbolt there. I'm Dwarf with this. Play a Vial and see where this goes. Other than my City of Brasses dealing me damage, I haven't run into mana base issues yet, but I'm pretty unhappy with my sideboard as of the first 2 rounds. I haven't felt like I've had good options for a control deck, and I haven't had good options for an aggressive deck. And, like, Infect is kind of a stand-in for Delver here. Like, obviously the matches are very different, but I just haven't had good removal options for early creatures. Alright, Noble Hierarch. So opponent's got some acceleration. I will tick up a Vial. I think I need to hold up my Sprite this turn, unfortunately. I just really need to be able to counter a Glistener Elf or a Cantrip or something. I just need to slow my opponent down. Ah, shit. So that's... okay, well... This at least lets me use my mana for turn efficiently. I'll take my 1 damage and see if I successfully counter this. I do. Opponent still just has an Infect creature here, though. Oh no, do they have Blighted Agent too? Fuck. Yeah, we are not going to Goldfish anywhere as quickly as their deck is. Especially since I'm not going to get treasure tokens via Magda this turn. File goes up. Moth Dust Changeling. Okay. I can go ahead and cast that and get 2 treasure tokens out of it in this turn cycle. So let's put Magda into play. Alright, there we go. I can go ahead and tap Magda, which gives me a treasure token. Unsettled Mariner is a dwarf, as a changeling, which means now I can go ahead and cast this. Opponent doesn't have a daze available. This gives me 2 treasures this turn, 5 treasures next turn, and then I'll be pretty close to going off. Not quite there. I will need an untapped automaton in order to do that, so I'd need to top deck that. But like, I have a reasonable path to victory in the world where Blighted Agent doesn't just take my lunch money this turn. Alright, this is going to be a Brainstorm into a fetch, and this very importantly gives my opponent access to 2 green, which can be relevant in some cases. Let's see if I'm dead. Seems like it would be going faster if I were dead. So I'm partially hopeful. Alright, this is blockers, so here's their chance. Okay, I only took 3 in fact. So let's make some treasure. Alright, there we go. And let's do this again. I guess I can go ahead and always yield to these Moth Dust activations as well. Alright, good stuff. Alright, this will stay at 2. Vampire's Vengeance, you say? That's super interesting. That's an instant too, huh? Okay. Okay. What does the Scourge do? What is the exact text of that card? X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons. Cool. I think I'm going to leave back the Sprite to block Inkmoth Nexus and have Vampire's Vengeance as a potential thing that I can do as a follow-up. Although, I don't know, maybe I just swing out here, as I'm pretty likely to cast Vampire's Vengeance. The 1 point of damage probably doesn't matter, though. Yeah. Alright, there's 3 treasures for me, meaning that Magda nonsense is live. Cool. Opponent goes to 11. Now, sacrifice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just get the Scourge. And I'll use that to junk this card. And at any point, I have Magda, tap Magda, Vampire's Vengeance. Maybe I'm supposed to just do that now to clear these things out. I kind of like doing it at beginning of combat, though. I actually think now that, like, I'm thinking about it more, I should have, like, not used this. I should have just, like, left that there and then just, like, straight up cast a Vampire's Vengeance as the thing that I did. Because this is uncounterable, and this is counterable. I'm sorry I don't have all of my, Scourge of Valkas lines figured out ahead of time. Alright, and I'll do this in beginning of combat, unless I get a strong reason to not do it then. Such as my opponent, like, kicking a Vines or something. Casting a Scale Up. That'll do it. Alright. Tap this. Yes. Magda. Keep the untapped one. I need priority back to do my cool thing. Alright, I have received priority. Now I can go ahead and tap Magda, make my treasure. And then I'll go ahead and Vampire's Vengeance. Alright, 3 mana, Vampire's Vengeance. Opponent will need both an instant speed trick and a berserk in order to win. Alright, opponent is taking some actions. They have a Flusterstorm, which I cannot pay for. Alright, so it gets countered. How big does this make it? Makes it 6. Noble Hierarchs make that 7, 8. Okay. So I can die to Berserk. So I die to Berserk, even if I block with both, right? That's 8, gets doubled to 16. I only block 5 of that. So this means this should just be a chump block turn. But if opponent has Berserk as one of their 2 last cards, they do get the kill here. Okay, and they do, and we'll lose this one to Infect in pretty quick fashion. I do wish I had played that the other way. Okay, this hand is going to be an easy mulligan. I have an Urza Saga, but really nothing that kind of works with it. I want the player draw. I want the draw. If I cast Once Upon a Time, find a land, and hit another land in 2 draw steps, this hand is pretty respectable. I can just play, like, Automaton, attack for 1, play Retrofitter Foundry, turn it into a 4/4, play a 1/1, attack for 5, followed by attack for 8. There's some degree of risk in keeping this hand. I think I'm going to be okay with that, but I'm going to Once Upon a Time before I can get Dazed. That is looking at 5 cards without finding a land. Feels bad. Yikes. I'm going to take the thing that I can potentially turn into a 4/4. We're probably conceding this game pretty much immediately, though. Like, I probably get 2 draws to hit a land, or I'm just stone cold dead to whatever my opponent is doing. Alright, Ponder. That's fine. Land, please! Never didn't have it. Alright, let's name Dwarf with this. And I think I will go ahead and play out the Universal Automaton first. Hitting more land drops here would be swell. Especially since it's looking more and more like we're playing against a control deck. It's interesting to play Island followed by Ponder there. Your Ponder's worse now because you can't play a fetch land unless there's like a green card specifically that you want to go towards, but they don't have like a Yorion. So I'm not expecting like the abundant growth type cards. That is technically the land that I asked for. Let's bash in for 1. Opponent is at a mighty 18. I'm going to play Retrofitter Foundry around Daze here. In case that's a thing that I have to worry about. Getting forced pitching an Uro. I'll call that a win. Then I'll go ahead and play out another Changeling. The Retrofitter Foundry was the card that made this hand acceptable. If I draw a land and I can start making some Urza Saga tokens, this is fine. I maybe should have played out Universal Automaton because it's an artifact now that I'm thinking about it. Alright. Not getting my Urza Saga value. Also have to worry about attacking into Icefang Coatl, which just trades with these things. Can't actually bounce with Ether Spellbomb, don't have blue. Alright. What's an Endurance and why should I care about it? Yep, here we go. And there's the Endurance, yeah. I'm gonna level with you here. I think we're dead. I'm like, my Urza Saga is about to destroy itself. My hand was a clunker to begin with. We did not get value out of these cards. I can't play the Unsettled Mariner that's in my hand. Life's kind of bad. I'm not dead yet, but I'm probably 1 Uro away from just conceding this game. Yeah, an opponent is confident enough here to just attack. A bad sign for me. Probably just means that they have another Endurance, which I don't know that I'm beating. A Wasteland, sure. I'll float a mana. I don't know. Maybe a Retrofitter Foundry saves this. Play a Spellbomb. I can Wasteland this land pre-combat. Try to force out the Endurance now if my opponent has it. Okay, they're floating blue instead. If I didn't have the read on Endurance specifically, I would have opted to take them off white. But I really wanted to play around Endurance. Battle on in. If my opponent plays an Icefang Coatl, I'll just bounce. Or not bounce, I'll Retrofitter Foundry, the one that they block. Cycle Timeless Dragon. So I wouldn't have taken them off a color regardless. Getting a basic plains so that a Wasteland can't fuck with them makes sense to me. And they're just going to eternalize that immediately. Which is annoying, because that's a 4/4. Oh, that's a mistake. So I sacrifice one of these to make a 4/4. And that's probably an interaction that my opponent hasn't seen before. I'll block and get an Endurance for free. That's quite nice. Now, if I draw one of my, 6 blue sources, I can bounce this Timeless Dragon. This file absolutely goes up here. Springleaf Drum. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Let's do this now. Yes. Put in Mariner. Play Springleaf Drum. Get some blue mana by tapping the Mariner. Return the Timeless Dragon token to their hand, which effectively just destroys it. Alright, maybe I gave up on the deck too early here. This is turning around. I crash in for 5, and then I have 2 more Changelings that I can turn into 4/4s after this. I don't know how much of this thunder is going to get picked up by my microphone, but it is impressive. Alright, there's another land drop. No Supreme Verdict, please. 3 mana, potentially Teferi? Potentially Uro, Karakas Bounce as well. There's a Prismatic Ending on Retrofitter Foundry. Why did you pay 3 mana? That does not make sense to me. I think they preemptively paid the tax. I'll let them pay that. Yeah, okay. We'll assume that was an error, but this game had tipped pretty heavily in my favor if my opponent's play was, like, just normally 1 mana, do this, pay an extra. That just leaves me with attacking for 10 next turn anyway. Yeah. Okay. So again, I don't really feel like I have anything for control matchups, so I should probably adjust the deck list before the next match. I wanted to play at least a couple of rounds against some different stuff to get a feel for the options that are here. This is probably just board in a Pithing Needle and board out. No, Sword Splashers is reasonable versus Uro. I also potentially want this Spellbomb. Again, though, like, the draw a card portion is really hard with Spellbomb. This should probably just be like a Soul Guide Lantern or something that's colorless. Let's board out the Masked Vandal and a Once Upon a Time and probably call that good. Not sure about this hand. Like, I have a good mix of lands and spells, and I technically have a finisher. But if I don't draw another land, or if I use this Wasteland, I kind of just have a bunch of 1/1s. I think it's better to mulligan to a Retrofitter Foundry, or at least a stronger start. Let's keep this, and I can probably throw back the City of Brass with a Springleaf Drum. Probably. I may regret that decision a few turns down the line. Alright, what do you have? Ponder. And the Ponder chooses to shuffle, which is very good for me. That is very bad for me. I very much wanted that card in my deck. Celebi. Dwarf. Uncounterable Dwarf. I think this is better than wastelanding my opponent blind, so that I can actually set up the things that I want my deck to be doing. It's possible I'm wrong, and since they Ponder shuffled, I'm just supposed to try to snipe a land. Alright, do I want to Magda into swords? I don't really want to Magda into swords here. I'm gonna go ahead and take my attack for 1. It's possible I'm supposed to play... Alright. Absolutely was not expecting that. I was thinking, I can trade with a Snapcaster Mage, and that's totally fine. That was not fine. Let's take out this so my future creatures can't easily be removed. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. Possible I'm supposed to play Moth Dust Changeling uncounterably this turn, so that I can just play Magda next turn uncounterably as well. We'll see. Containment Priest is so annoying here, because like it shuts off the Magda side of the deck, and I drew the Scourge to boot, is not super good for me. Take 2 from this attack. I'm not worried about this initial burst of pressure. It's like, this pressure is fine. An Uro or equivalent is not fine. Name like Faerie with this. I can cast Spell Strutters if I draw them. And then drop a Magda. Opponent's deck does have Caracas. So, like, that's a thing that exists. This can still technically get me the... what is it? Clock of Omens card. Okay, that's fine. Like, I have another Magda. Very much replaceable. And again, the damage here is inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. This is uncastable. Let's play a new Magda. I have 2 uncastables in hand and 1 kind of weak card. The Moth Dust Changeling could do some things if I get Containment Priest out of play, but I'm not really good at doing that. Like, there's, what, one Source of Plowshares in my deck that I can answer that with. Luckily, if my opponent just plays an Uro here, they have a basic plane, so they can't, like, escape it immediately. Yeah. So, if they hit a land drop here and a land drop next turn... Wait. Okay. And it wasn't cast. Okay. So that's not a Nambo. Opponent is thinking about attacking and then decides the better of it. That's fine. My current plan is a little sketchy. Not gonna lie to you. My current plan, and I'm not gonna attack with this, I'm just gonna tap it with Moth Dust Changeling. My current plan involves just, like, literally casting this off a bunch of treasure tokens. So that allows Uro to happen. Not great for me. I'm also not good at doing the fire-breathing end of the equation here. Also not great versus Source of Plowshares at any point in the next few turns. Alright, Uro. Do your thing. And we'll see how bad this turn gets. I don't think my opponent attacks with Containment Priest. Like, that damage just seems like chump change compared to what Uro is going to do to me. Alright. Make some treasures. Let's go ahead and auto-yield to this stuff. And then repeat the process for this thing. We got 2 treasures. Right, let's pick up an Ether Vial. Yes. And a Confluence. Okay. Land drop. Tap a Changeling. Get my treasure token. And then do this. Red. 1 and 2. I have cast my big dumb dragon. I control 2 dragons, so I can kill this. Okay. Did a thing. And I'll call it a turn there. So I can activate Moth Dust Changeling, target Magda, make another treasure. Then I'll have 2 more. Use Mana Confluence to try to find something with Once Upon a Time to make it so that I can have 3. And work towards doing something cool. Oh my god. I'm fucked. Oh god, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Fuck this. I'm out. This is a 6/6 Uro. Oh my god. Uh, this Jitte absolutely decimates me. I am basically giving up on this game at this point. I don't think I can win this one. I am going to just kind of accept fate here, and I get so blown out by a Swords to Plowshares. Let's just go ahead and take another treasure here. And I'll just trade with the Uro for now in hopes that like I can draw a Retrofit or Foundry or something before my opponent activates the Jitte and start turning these things into 4/4s that Jitte doesn't beat. But once you're at the point where you're like blocking and trading in combat with Uro, like bad things have happened. Yeah, they're right there. They're playing that smart. Oh, please don't have another creature. All right, it is Bant Stoneblade, and I am on the menu. I am delicious and destroyed by Jitte, followed by Cauldra. I'm gonna take a draw here and then cast Once Upon a Time, but I can't think of how to win this. That's not good enough. Let's cast Once Upon a Time and see if I find an answer to one of these two cards. Not really. I'm gonna go ahead and concede there. This is not gonna do it from this situation. I'd rather just go to the next game. So now that I know my opponent is playing Stoneblade, I will bring in my answers to Creech. Wait. Wait. Don't really have those. I can have a 3-mana March that can answer an Uro or a Stoneforge Mystic. I guess this also for large numbers could answer a Cauldra or Jitte. I probably need to play it. Let's Junko Once Upon a Time, I guess. Yeah, I am going to rework the sideboard after this game. I am really not happy with what's here. That's that Scourge in hand again. No. This doesn't work. Let's mulligan. Like, do I keep this and pitch Mirror Entity and just hope to draw more gas? I guess. Really not happy with this. I also think I have to play Mana Confluence on turn 1. I don't know, I can just put this on Wizard. Maybe I just put this on Wizard. Alright. Wizard, I think I'll play Aether Vial here. Just get that going. But not feeling good about prospects here. Alright, am I going to lose this Aether Vial immediately to Prismatic Ending? The answer is no. So we'll take up Vial. Unsettled Mariner. Is playing that better than any of my other plays? Probably not. I probably plan on playing Urza's Saga this turn with the intention of activating it and trying to ride that to victory. And then I can Spellstutter and Mariner off of Vial starting next turn. I will Sprite just about any cantrip here, though, I think. Just try and stop my opponent from getting set up. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm supposed to save it for Swords to Plowshares, but... Okay, if they're not going to cast a cantrip, I don't even have to think about it. And just go ahead and tick this up. Yes, another Urza Saga. Okay. It's Urza Saga The Reckoning, right? That's what this game's called? Right, folks? Folks? And... Ooh? About to see, like, a Containment Priest? Just for mana efficiency? We are. In which case, I will have to activate this now. Yes, let's put in the Mariner to help protect my creatures. It also means that Containment Priest can't immediately attack. Alright, are we going to face down Uro already? God! This Containment Priest back to basics 1-2 punch is disgusting. And my Sprite could only counter a CMC2 card. I didn't want to counter the Containment Priest, I just wanted to put in Mariner so that I could activate Urza Saga. But that's a bit of a smack in the face. Okay. So now it's, can a single Urza Saga token go all the way versus a Bant control deck? And the answer is almost certainly no. Especially with my resources being as limited as they are. But we'll see. Bell Bomb. Can't really activate that. Retrofitter Foundry is pretty reasonable here. I'll play that. And I can go Urza Saga into probably Springleaf Drum. That's a 4/4. I think I will go ahead and tap Mariner for mana, play Aether's Spellbomb, make this a 5/5, and attack for 5 that way. And then I can sack Unsettled Mariner at some point, turning it into a 4/4. Let's see how good my opponent's follow-up is. Because there's worlds where I can... I don't know, Containment Priest having Flash makes it so hard to make a window to do cool things with. Ugh. Cool. Alright, do I sack Unsettled Mariner? It opens me up to Swords to Plowshares in this turn cycle in a way that I'm not, but I can attack if I do kill it. Attacking seems important. I'm not winning this long game. Alright. Lyle can stay at 2. There's a Magda. I can cheat that into play, or I can deal 4 damage. I think I like dealing 4 damage. I think. The treasure tokens for Magda are, like, technically worth something here. But I think trying to kill my opponent over the course of 2 turns is better than just getting a Magda into play. I'm just really scared of my opponent just having a Jete or something that they can suit up True Name Nemesis with and gain a bunch of life. I'm also scared of double removal spell. Single removal spell is probably whatever. Library is fine. That's just where we're at. Just where we're at. I have like Icefang Quaddle to worry about, although Icefang Quaddle would require like a Tundra or something. Yeah, that's fine. I will eat that 2 damage. File stays at 2. There's a Cavern of Souls. Figure out what I'm getting with an Urza Saga. Pithing Needle Flooded Strand is super cute. Spellbomb's okay. Universal Automaton is no good. I think I like Pithing Needle Flooded Strand. Let's do it. Flooded Strand. Makes options a little worse for my opponent. Play this. Probably just put it on Wizard. And continue to beat in for some amount of damage. It's an awkward game. No! Oh, it's just a chump blocker. That's fine. That's all that is. Yep, that's okay. Like, I gained ground that turn, but that does mean Sylvan Library is activatable. Which I do not like. They probably can't pay life. Probably. But that back to basics is absolutely brutal. Oh, okay, they are activating it. They can offset that with something like an Uro. Oh, I might have fucked up. Do I have Shadow Spear in this deck list? No, I don't have Shadow Spear. Okay, I didn't mess up. Shadow Spear would be clutch in this exact situation that I'm in now. You trample over True Name Nemesis. Okay, no attacks from the opponent, which isn't surprising. And I've got to kind of try to find a way to force through those last few points of damage. Moth-Dust Changeling. So the real question here is, like, do I want to attack both creatures into an Icefang Coatl type card? Slash, do I actually have much of a choice? Actually, if I play Icefang Coatl, or sorry, if I play Moth-Dust Changeling first, Spellbomb gets turned on, which is sort of interesting. That makes that attack much better, because my opponent can't play an Icefang Coatl type card twice. Brutal. Okay. So my attacks aren't good anymore. As of next turn, I can try to give Moth-Dust Changeling flying and get in that way, but life's pretty bad. That cost me my Cavern to make that play. Okay, I mean, very happy with opponent just having a land and not like an Uro or a Planeswalker or something. But I'm not really good against Endurance. Not really good against spot removal spells from my opponent. I feel like my opponent is just like in a situation of advantage. Alright, Springleaf Drum. Tap a creature for mana. Play a Moth-Dust Changeling. is counterable. Tap this Moth Dust Changeling to give this one flying. And hope my opponent's last card isn't Endurance or Ice Fang Coatl. Let's see if that works out. Okay, it does. Okay. Alright. So you're telling... Oh, opponent fetched a 2. That is theoretical lethal next turn. Not, like, super likely to happen. Because, like, spot removal spell, Planeswalker, Uro, Ice Fang, Swords of Plowshares, Snapcaster Mage. Opponent has so many just absolutely fire draws. Alright. Just because our opponent didn't play anything doesn't mean that things are safe. To clarify. It's also possible that I should just, like, pass the turn on my opponent's end step, try to bounce Containment Priest, get a Magda into play, and then try to just ride treasure tokens to victory. I don't know. Maybe just attacking my opponent and making them have it is more important. Let's fly. Attempt my damage. Oh, okay. That's not the end of the world, I guess. Alright, I can still attempt my Containment Priest cheaty Magda play later. It's better if my opponent, like, drops Containment Priest mana, so, like, I know that it can work. Otherwise, it becomes an awkward staring contest for a long time. Opponent's also selecting their draws with Sylvan Library. Alright, they're confident enough for a True Name Nemesis attack. I'll take 3. Oh god, another one, okay. Seems good. I think for my mana efficiency here, I fuck around with this. It kind of does require my opponent to mess up. I think I'm okay with that. Leave this on 2. Oh, don't cast it. Don't cast it. I just activated in response. I mean, this is obviously what I was hoping for. Yes, I use this ability. So the real question here is, do I play Magda? Yes. Okay, yeah, my opponent realized what just happened there. So Magda increases the power of this to 2, and then I just get in with the air, and my opponent didn't have Swords of Plowshares as their last card. Ugh. Alright, let's do some adjustments. Okay, before I get started with this round here, just a couple of quick comments. I made some minor changes to the deck list. I threw a Platinum Empyrean in the main deck so I can have a more objective win condition when I need it. I added some Valiant Changelings to the sideboard so that I was a little more dense versus control, and a God Pharaoh's statue so that I have a reasonable win condition versus combo. This hand's kind of medium. It's a little heavy on the artifacts and a little light on the creatures. I think I'm gonna mulligan. Don't like this either. Yeah, this is just 6 mana sources again. I'm gonna try to go deeper. Alright. At this point, I probably just have to keep. I'll get rid of this Ether Vial. And I think I'm just gonna hope to play a double Spellstarter Sprite game. And hope that I draw a land. We'll see how this goes. I'm not, like, super optimistic. And maybe I'm supposed to just keep the second colored land over the Urza Saga. I like seeing Swamp. I don't like seeing Thoughtseize after mulliganing. My opponent is going to be playing a bunch of basic lands, because they have Prismatic Vista in their deck, trying to keep a couple of lands based on the strength of Wasteland. Sorry, keep a couple of hands based on the strength of Wasteland was, like, not going to do it. Ooh, I think we're playing against ninjas. I haven't seen ninjas in a long time. Yeah, mana doesn't really work out here. Guess I will name Wizard with this. And my opponent's ninjutsu creature that is likely to connect this turn is going to start pulling them ahead, and my mana doesn't work for Swords of Plowshares. Yep, alright, so I have made my call correctly, rather. Oh, did not actually have the ninja. We got Retrofitter Foundry to turn that Thopter into a 4/4 immediately. Fantastic draw. We're going to get brutalized pretty quickly here. Alright, yeah, so there's the conversion into the 4/4. And my opponent knows that I have Sprite, so they get to play around it. And this 4/4 is going to be bigger than a bunch of my construct tokens for the foreseeable future as well. It's not really a good position because I don't really get to use my mana for anything this turn unless I just want to make a 1/1 flyer, which is not really good in the face of active Retrofitter Foundry. Yeah, that sure doesn't get countered by my sprites here. I think I'm just going to immediately concede if I don't hit a land here. Okay, I did hit a land. I'll name Dwarf with this. Cool. I guess I can, like, Urza Saga for Pithing Needle, shut off the Retrofitter Foundries. Or alternatively, Urza Saga for Springleaf Drum to cast Source of Plowshares on Yuriko. Okay, minus that whole Source of Plowshares plan, that's not happening now. Okay, opponent's just not going to play it into the sprite. That is reasonable. Let's make some tokens. Kind of see how this goes. Retrofitter Foundry is a decent draw, but it doesn't quite work out super well right now. Opponent's going to activate Retrofitter Foundry this turn. Yeah, it should be right now. So then they can activate it again to turn that into a 1/1 flyer right now. Yep, which they do. So, oh, the Pithing Needle was not game 1. The Pithing Needle was sideboard. It's the next day from when I recorded the previous rounds. Yeah, I guess this is Springleaf Drum then. Let's, I think, immediately go for the white mana and take out Yuriko. I know that Yuriko is blocked by this construct token, but I expect that my opponent has removal of some kind in their deck that they haven't really had a chance to use yet. Be that, like, Fatal Push, Dismember, Snuff Out, Murderous Cut sometimes. No Shuffle off the Ponder, a Baleful Strix, sure. I'm absolutely on the wrong side of the equation here. Like, I'm about to lose Retrofitter Foundry to Thoughtseize. I have the Scourge of Valkas in hand that I can't really do anything with. I'm just really feeling my mulligan to 5 and just kind of, like, being on the back foot from the beginning. They took my big dumb card, which honestly I'm pretty happy about. I'm also a little surprised the flyer didn't just poke in. Mere Entity. That would be nice if I had more mana, but I do not. I want to play out a Retrofitter Foundry. These are 4/4s. I can turn them into 5/5s. I still have the problem of the aerial threats, and I still have the problem of double Retrofitter Foundry just pooping out a 4/4 creature every, like, 1.5 turn cycles. Like, it could be 2 1/1s per turn cycle, or more, and worse things as opponent's mana goes up. Alright. So, here's to hoping nothing goes wrong. So if nothing goes wrong, this is a great turn for me. And if something goes wrong, this is an awful turn for me. But I think I am absolutely in something has to go right territory. Yeah, there's a Snuff Out. That's fine. So let's tap that for mana, tap this for mana, make a servo. Then at least I still trade with this one. I really wanted to have 2 5/5s for this board. Jeez. I think if opponent has 2 removal spells like that, though, they're just supposed to force the damage and just do both of those pre-combat. I am comfortable conceding here. I'm at 5 life to a huge deficit to double Retrofitter Foundry. All right, what do we have for this matchup? I can play more Swords to Plowshares. Pithing Needle for Retrofitter Foundry is probably important. It's a little awkward because, like, I too am a Retrofitter Foundry deck. That's probably okay. Keep 1. I want to try to board in the Masked Vandal to deal with opposing Retrofitter Foundries and tokens, maybe. Not insane. Vampire's Vengeance is awkward. It's good against some of their stuff and bad against some of their stuff. Accordingly, I don't know if I bring it in. I'm going to go Mirror Entity out. I don't really think I like Aether Spellbomb here. Opponent has a lot of mana efficient things. It's cool to get rid of a token, but especially since the blue is a little hard to get in this deck, I don't know that I'm on board with that. And I think I'm going to continue my plan of boarding these out. Do I want 3/3 double strikers here? Because they line up well in combat versus the ninjas. They don't line up well versus the constructs. It might be better than sprites. It might be better than sprites here. It's going to be hard for me to hold up mana in this matchup, I think, because like I think I really need to tap out for these cards in like Retrofitter Foundries and stuff when I have them. Yeah, I think I buy that. This is 1 mana short of working. I can't keep this. Okay. This will be a keep. And then kind of the question is, do I keep the 3rd land in case I get wastelanded? I think no. I don't know. Masked Vandal doesn't really have text right now, other than just being a changeling that I can tap for Magda. I'll throw back the land. Alright. Cavern. Put that on Dwarf. And then jam a changeling. So I've got turn 2, either Magda or Valiant Changeling, depending on kind of what my opponent does. We could just get Thought Seized, and then, like, I don't have the real choice. Yep, my opponent gets to make that choice. This will mean that Mass Vandal gets turned on, though. Historically, I haven't been a very big fan of this card, because, like, it requires you to exile a creature card from your graveyard. It exiles an artifact or enchantment, which is, like, super important for Kaldra specifically. So, like, I get why it's, like, sometimes played in decks like Goblins or whatever. But I'm not just kind of objectively the biggest fan. There's a Wasteland. We'll hold that. I can probably just put this on Dwarf again in case of Wasteland. And then we'll drop this. So the cost reduction here is cost 1 less for each creature type among creatures you control. But, like, since this is a changeling, it's everything. Hence, we get a 2 mana 3/3 double striker, like Eat Your Heart Out, Mirran Crusader. And then we'll just grab 1 damage. Alright, here's to hoping that I, like, see an Underground Sea on the other side of the table that I can just, like, snag. Nope. Snuff Out is brutal here. So, like, I have the choice of, like, playing out Masked Vandal as a 1/3 attacker, or just kind of, like, not using my mana next turn. That's real bad for me. No shuffle on that. Okay, Unsettled Mariner is totally reasonable as a draw. Guess I can go ahead and attack first. Get in my little love tap worth of damage. And then I'm unsure if I should actually play Wasteland. If I draw like an Urza's Saga or something next turn, I will be glad to have potentially played this. So I guess I will. But it, like, telegraphs that, like, I have it, so if opponent has a regular fetch land, they know not to fetch an Underground Sea. But they've got Vista. Alright, I can Masked Vandal that out of the way. But that's not exactly the insane play that I'm hoping for from my Masked Vandal. Magda would be cool. Not a Magda at all. Alright, Operation Bad Beatdown is a go. Goodbye, Baleful Strix. Yes, I will use that ability. Sending a Magda to exile. Go ahead and throw another Changeling in here. And then get in 2 points of damage. No real point in attacking with the 1/1 into a 0/2. Alright, so Ornithopter comes in. So I'm going to tap this to give my creature flying. So then I will go ahead and block this Ornithopter, and the Ninjutsu ability works for unblocked creatures, so I prevent my opponent from just, like, going and putting in something like a Yuriko this turn. Alright, there's an Underground Sea that I can destroy if I end up wanting to. That's not castable. Alright, let's start here. Let's just take that out. I'm really hoping to draw a Magda, because if I draw a Magda, I just get to play it and immediately go and get something like a Platinum Empyrean. And I think I'm just going to send all of these sideways. Like, opponent's at 9, this creature can't block. Like, there's a world where I can get in here. Alright, opponent is going to 3. So Snuff Out costs 4 life, so casting that for free is no longer on the table. Like, opponent's on a lot of self-damage here. Snuff Out, Thoughtseize, double Prismatic Vista. So, like, while my hand has, like, absolutely been anemic. Oh, God. Uh, Awkward. Okay. Magda. Damn. Well, I guess the obvious first step is cast the Pithing Needle and see what my opponent does in response. Okay. They're going for a 4/4, putting a charge counter on the Ratchet Bomb. This probably has to be naming the Ratchet Bomb. Otherwise, the Ratchet Bomb takes out the Pithing Needle. Although, if I put this on Retrofitter Foundry, an opponent destroys the Changelings and the Pithing Needles, it also destroys Retrofitter Foundry. I don't know. I think I have the best chance of just, like, accidentally aggroing this game out by attacking with flyers a couple of times. I am going to name Ratchet Bomb. Alright. So, let's give these flying crash in for 1 point of damage. That's fine. Like, this Retrofitter Foundry will take over the game if I give my opponent time. I am hoping not to give them time. And, like, Magda is oh, wow. Super surprised to see that fetch to 1. Huh. Okay. The opponent's got a ninja, and then they'll just replay their Ornithopter. That's fine. So they need to draw a second flyer here, or they die. Because this, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think their fetch was incorrect there. They just sit on that fetch. They can just live for another turn and get another draw step to help stabilize their board. There's a world where if my opponent does that much self-damage, I'm just supposed to board in God Pharaoh's statue. Oh, let's have that option. I just don't have enough mana here, and I have a disappearing land. This does not work. This hand does nothing. Like, this hand has a 1/1 and a Source of Plowshares. Not looking great. This is the best hand of those that I have seen so far. The 5-card hand, which probably has to be these 5, which means I'm giving up my interaction. But I think the way that I win with this hand is by my opponent not having Thoughtseize and me actually getting to activate a Magda. Okay, cool. Got the initial dodge. And Karakas is a great thing to have in hand. Oh, that's also great. All right. Dwarf into uncounterable 1/1. And then I actually have a really good turn if opponent doesn't go wild here in disrupting me. Alright, so they did not have a ninja innately in hand. I guess that's the good news for me. I'm also a little more resilient to Thoughtseize than I was a second ago, so, like, that's nice. Okay, that's fine. I will take my 1 point of damage. The awkward thing here is that Retrofitter Foundry can convert Ornithopter into a creature immediately. So I can't actually attack with my creature this turn to get Magda tokens. That probably means that I don't play Magda this turn. I also probably have to show Karakas this turn. I don't think I can take this damage here. Yeah. Alright, it's a Retrofitter Foundry off. And I will have Uncounterable Dork. This game is going to be a grind. I might be the aggressor, though, with this Magda. We'll also see whether or not, like, opponent finds and uses their mana for ninjas. Because that changes the texture of the game a lot, too. Alright. Okay, yeah, it is aggro time for my opponent. I'll go ahead and take my block here. Then go ahead and sacrifice that, turn that into a 4/4. It's possible I'm supposed to just keep that as a changeling for Magda treasure tokens. This is awkward. Like, I'm not going to be able to get the attacks that I, like, very desperately want. Alright, I think I'm willing to take 1 to hold up Karakas in this turn cycle. Make a Magda. And am I the beatdown? I might be the beatdown. I don't know. My opponent can convert this into a 4/4, which makes me think no. I am going to take the attack with this, though, and get my first treasure token. I will be willing to sack if my opponent blocks. It's like, I think we're just playing that game. Yeah, that's fine. So, let's turn you into an idiot. And then I'd like to draw Moth Dust Changeling to start working towards treasure tokens. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is why I held up Caracas. I'll just go ahead and attempt my bounce here. I am successful. We'll see what the file... Oh my god. The bait and switch. Disgusting. Yeah, so my opponent's lands untap and mine don't. Yeah, I'll absolutely trade here. Aether Vial, I guess, would be a cool draw. God. Okay. Yeah, so, like, opponent gets to activate their Retrofitter Foundry while I don't. That was a cripplingly good play, and I think the end of this game. Yeah. So I trade that off, but I'm not gaining any ground here. My opponent. Oh, jeez. Okay. So at some point, I can make a 2-mana play. I don't think playing a Magda right now really does anything. I'm just trying to figure out the world where I win. It really involves using Aether Vial for mana. And, like, Magda doesn't attack into 1/1s well. I think I'm just gonna chill. At some point, my opponent also might just, like, junk a Ratchet Bomb for 0 and kill a treasure token. Like, that's totally a legit play, given the board state that they have. Although, I don't know. Like, maybe with a Ratchet Bomb chilling on 1, I can't ever, like, take an Aether Vial up and use that as a reasonable plan. Okay. This is brutal. So end of turn, they'll make a token. And life's bad. I think I'm pretty much ready to concede here. Like, I'll take one more draw step, but, like, yeah, if they have a real source of card advantage and extra damage now, this just isn't gonna happen anymore. Yeah, and another Ingenious Infiltrator for next turn. Yeah, I think I'm officially at the point where I'm buried and I'm ready to throw in the towel. GG's. And the still had all these. Disgusting. Okay. Once again, we're having mana problems of just, like, physically not having enough mana sources in the deck list. Like, like, uh, that probably has to go back too, right? Like, this is just, like, on the draw double sprite. Although my opponent's going to 5. Maybe if my opponent is going to 5 and is trying something degenerate, I just keep the hand with 2 counterspells and a wasteland and just, like, pray that it gets there. I'm going to put the Platinum Empyrean back in the deck. Opponent's going to 4. We're playing against degenerate nonsense, folks. I am absolutely expecting some sort of, like, Dredge, Reanimator type start. Alright, Once Upon a Time. Or Elvish Reclaimer. It's unusual for elves to mulligan that deep. This may be a Dark Depths deck instead. It could still be Reclaimer elves. But I don't know. Let's go Wizard here rather than Fairy. Yeah. And drop this Changeling. This would have been a totally respectable hand on the play. It's just probably too slow on the draw. We'll see. Like, I very much could be wrong, depending on what opponent does here. And we'll probably get a feel pretty much immediately for whether or not we are playing against elves or just a, like, more traditional Reclaimer deck. Answer is more traditional Reclaimer deck. And this is probably just Wasteland pass. I don't want to just get got by my opponent just, like, tutoring a Cradle or Dark Depths or something and just getting me. Glimpse, absolutely not. Alright, so we are playing against elves. Alright, so this is actually functioning as a counter spell. Goodbye, Glimpse. And now that I know we're playing against elves and I have another counter spell up that can hit up to 3 drops, I'm actually probably doing okay. Long term, I might work towards just hard casting this by putting future Rainbow lands on Dragon. Oh, wow, that's really good. That's really good here. I think I want to take 1 point of damage to put the Rainbow land in play, though, in hopes of curving out into Dragon if my draws line up that way, rather than just play the Caracas. That's maybe unnecessary, but it feels fine here. All right. Heck for 2 points of damage. I've got a counterspell. And I will probably use it very liberally just because, like, it increases my clock as well. Yeah. I'll absolutely say no to that. Like, I do not want my opponent drawing a single card here if possible. Let's just stop that. Bash in for 3. And you can have a Heritage Druid. That's fine. Come on, gas. That absolutely qualifies as gas. Alright. So, the red mana... I'll probably drop Wasteland here. No, I don't really have a reason to hold up Caracas. Let's drop that instead. So this is going to give me a treasure token, which can allow me to play Scourge of Valkas next turn. So that's super cool. Yeah, I don't imagine the opponent is trading there. I gave them the option, which maybe I shouldn't have given. I could have just tapped this to give flying. All right, well, can't counter that one. All right, no attack from the opponent. And tap Magda for a treasure. Cool, cool. So let's just cast this now. Red. Red. Opponent didn't even need to see. That's fair. Alright, what do we have for elves? Canonist is okay against the Glimpse Chain. Swords are okay if I can cast them. God Pharaoh Statue is okay if I get it in play. Vampire's Vengeance is actively good. Pithing Needle has text. I don't know that I want it. I don't really want Aether Spellbomb. I have never assembled the whole Clock of Omens, Scourge of Valkas ultimate kill. I would like to do, because it's cool and janky. But it feels like most of the time versus elves, I'm just supposed to grab a Platinum Empyrean. If I get the opportunity to. My opponent will probably have like 2-ish outs to it. Like an Elvish Reclaimer and an Assassin's Trophy or something like that. Maybe Force of Vigors if they would want to board something like that in. I think that goes. Maybe God Pharaoh Statue will come in. But Once Upon a Time is good in the opening hand, but just like so hard to cast in other stages of the game, both in terms of colored mana and in terms of like the tempo hit to tap 2 lands in order to play stuff. I think I can see Mirror Entity going out. Opponent just has a lot of blockers, so like the overrun effect is probably medium. I can do this. Leaves me with 2 Magda targets, a little more early game interaction, and a sweeper. Do I need/want God Pharaoh Statue? No? Like, it's okay. It's just hard. Because I think I'm supposed to get Platinum Empyrean first most of the time. I will keep this. I have a very cool sweeper. Some slightly awkward sequencing in terms of, like, wanting to play a Magda, but also wanting to play Vampire's Vengeance as soon as possible. And honestly, I kind of like the hand because I have a mana confluence, meaning that like the Swords to Plowshares and such that I draw are live. Let's put this on Dwarf and get my Aether Vial going. So I think the big danger is dying on my opponent's turn 3. Is that's the point where like I haven't had an opportunity to cast Vampire's Vengeance yet, and they can kind of like disgustingly do their thing. Oh god, next turn it's going to be so scary. Absolutely so scary. Ooh, am I just getting oofed? I'm just getting oofed. That's just something that eats it. Oh, it's a visionary, sure. Alright, I'm so scared for a Glimpse Chain next turn. Otherwise Vampire's Vengeance can potentially save the day. So I might need to Swords to make it another turn cycle, if I'm being real here. I think I'm going to do that. I don't think I can afford to, like, maximum greed for value off of Vampire's Vengeance here. Gaia's Cradle is scary, and, like, getting rid of that Dryad Arbor denies 2 mana. That's another Dryad Arbor. If my opponent attacks, they do not attack. Alright, they're just chilling. Oh, fuck, I forgot to Violin Universal Automaton. I will live with that mistake. It's like, it's a vampire, so it wouldn't have gotten swept by Vampire's Vengeance. I was just so surprised by my opponent not playing any other spells. Alright. There's an Urza's Saga, and I think I just need to do this now. Again, just try to make it to the later stages of the game. Oh, wow, okay. is all quite surprising. Like, not even like an endurance flashed in or something. Ah, very surprising. Okay. I mean, if we get a free one, we get a free one. Opponent might have like some abrupt decay type card or something. We'll leave this on 2. Scourge of Valkas. Okay, we can maybe think about picking that up. We got 2 mana that probably just goes into pumping Urza Saga Construct tokens. Yeah. And next turn, I can potentially cast a Scourge of Valkas. Yeah. Call it a turn. My danger senses are still just going on. Oh, nope. Okay. All right. That is our 5th round here, and we end up 3-2 with this deck list. With the caveat that like this was in the tournament practice room, and I think it was a blue-white opponent in round 1 conceded rather quickly. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I don't know that the Clock of Omens Scourge of Valkas combo is better than just playing things like Platinum Imperium and God Pharaoh's statue in the main deck that can singularly take over the game. So in 5 rounds, we did not execute that loop once. Given the interaction that Legacy has, that's not overly surprising. As far as the deck design goes, it's exploring some really neat space. Like, Spellstrutter Sprite is a reasonable Magic the Gathering card that can help protect your combo versus the Prismatic Endings and Swords to Plowshares that normally might kind of mess with it. And I like that in that regard. I don't know, without playing more games, how I like some of this stuff in here. Like, Mirror Entity is a Changeling. It's a win condition. I don't see myself tutoring that up versus other options most of the time. So, like, I wonder if, like, some of these slots are better just being, like, another land of some kind, or more copies of Changeling Outcast, which did not make the cut in this deck list. I don't know without playing more games. I'm still a little unsure about the sideboard. Like, the Swords to Plowshares seem important. I wanted them. Maybe you have to adjust the mana base more in order to make those work. Like, maybe this isn't supposed to be a wasteland deck and you cram in another utility land or something like that. Or maybe at some point you have enough artifacts in here that you can start looking at Mox Opal to stabilize the mana that way, or something like that. I think this shell is probably underexplored. In no capacity is this going to be a tiered deck list, just like comparing the individual quality to things in, Blue Red Delver or Death and Taxes and whatnot. Like, the card quality here is just lower, but I think this is a reasonable, tier 3 strategy or something like that. Like, this is an awesome FNM style deck. One thing I'll say is that if you do get more copies of the 1-drop Changeling, whose name I'm blanking, Changeling Outcast in here, then the 4 of Retrofitter Foundry does become even better. I added more mana confluences to make sure that I got better at casting Swords to Plowshares, but maybe if you're trying to use mana sinks like Retrofitter Foundry, the damage from that land doesn't work out super well. But if you add Changeling Outcast, then you are a true 5-color deck instead of just like a 5-color deck if you happen to board in these 3 things. So, like, there's some greed in the mana base. I don't think it's like too far down the line where it's unreasonable, but I think there's still room for messing with this deck list more. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on your way out. If you have thoughts about the deck building, please throw them in the comments. I'm sure Brian would appreciate them. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.